G'day guys and gal. Everyone has problems in life, from the AIDS-stricken African village all the way to the royal family. While not all problems are equal in their severity, it's important to recognize that we're all dealing with our own situations and to be empathetic towards each other. The Eldar have a big fucking problem. Due to some poor decisions by the Eldar Empire, they now have a slut god who's obsessed with their souls and stops at nothing to try to claim them. All Eldar, from the most depraved of the Drakari to the most noble of the Craftworlder, do not want their soul to be claimed by Slaanesh. It sucks. She's a total bitch. As such, each of the Eldar sub-factions have developed their own safeguards against Slaanesh, with the Craftworlders and Exodites using spirit stones as their safeguard. Amazing pieces of jewelry that have significantly deeper lore than you would expect, and are arguably one of the most overlooked and incredible things in all of 40k lore. Before we get started, I've commissioned shitloads of amazing artwork for both the channel and the community. I often see these artworks get reposted on forums with thousands of upvotes, which is nice. It doesn't matter that it's rarely credited to myself or the artist, I'm not a gatekeeper. So with so many people loving these artworks, I thought why not put them into a poster and sell it in a high resolution. So I've taken 25 of the best artworks I've commissioned and printed them into an A3 poster that you can now buy. It's high quality poster paper, is less than $20, so less than $1 per poster for the entire booklet. It's also poster glued together so you can just peel them off, chuck some blue tack on it, and then slap it on your wall or desk or wherever. These artworks were all done by the legendary Alex Christie, shout out to him, and he will be getting a bonus from these sales depending on how many we sell. I'll only be running this sale for a week, so if you want to support the channel, support the artist, and get yourself a sweet ass limited time poster book, this is the best way to do it. Now the only real killer here is shipping, because the poster's got a bit of weight to it. So to get the best value out of shipping, I recommend adding in some Majorkill merch, which is currently 50% off at the moment, or buy a couple of them for your mates so it's all in the same order. I've made them as cheap as possible to offset that. Link is below. Today we'll go over the lore of the Spirit Stones. What are they actually? How do they work? How do the Eldar get more of them? And other fun little facts. Let's get into it. Unfortunately for the Eldar, when Slaanesh was born, they were hit with collective punishment. See, the Exodite Eldar had already fled the decaying Eldar Empire to avoid the oncoming apocalypse, and the Craftworlders were disgusted by the Eldar Empire and likewise rejected it. Despite this, when Slaanesh was born, she was technically an Eldar god in some respects, so made claim to all Eldar souls, regardless if they helped bring about her awakening or not. What this meant was that when an Eldar died and their soul was sent to the warp, it was redirected straight into Slaanesh, who would consume the soul and torture it for eternity, thus giving her the nickname She Who Thirsts by the Eldar. It didn't stop there though. Even living Eldar began to have their vitality drained from them as Slaanesh slowly siphoned their soul from their body, so all Eldar began actively dying. They needed to come up with a solution. For the Dark Eldar, they realized that by staying in the webway, Slaanesh had a very hard time reaching them as the webway was out of her control, so their rate of soul draining dramatically slowed down. They also realized that they could torture other creatures, with the agony of that torture feeding Slaanesh instead, thus revitalizing themselves and protecting their souls. This would go on to become the core of the Dark Eldar culture and why they're such assholes. Harlequins do not need spirit stones, nor do the Ynnari, as their gods protect their souls. However, since all other Eldar gods were either dead or indisposed, the Craftworlders and Exodites did not have such protection. Now the lore of when spirit stones first began getting used by the Eldar is very confusing. GW states that the earliest recovery of spirit stones was in M33, when a Farseer traveled to a Crone world, found some, brought them back to a Craftworld, and built the first Infinity Circuit, which is like a network of spirit stones containing the stones of all dead Eldar from that Craftworld, which not only provides them with a sort of afterlife, but also empowers the Craftworld and gives it somewhat of a consciousness. However, when Fulgrim encountered Eldrad during the Great Crusade, which was the start of M31, Eldrad was accompanied by a Wraith Lord, a construct of Wraithbone powered by a Spirit Stone of an Eldar hero, which only could have existed if Spirit Stones had begun getting collected just after the birth of Slaanesh, in M30. Likewise, it's unlikely that the Eldar could have survived 3,000 years without Spirit Stones and Slaanesh breathing down their necks. So yeah, thank you GW for making my job hard. I'm just gonna have to try vibe my way through this one. Either way, at some point the Eldar realized that they needed spirit stones in order to protect their souls. But where are these spirit stones? They don't grow on trees after all, nor could they be created by the Eldar. They actually have somewhat grimdark lore. See, the birth of Slaanesh was so traumatic that many Eldar ghosts will occasionally manifest on Crone worlds, which are the Eldar worlds that were called in the Eye of Terror when Slaanesh was born. When these ghosts manifest, they relive their moment of death and then briefly turn into spirit stones afterwards. If these spirit stones are then collected by the Eldar, they solidify and become real. The uncollected ones return to the warp, warp in preparation for the next cycle. So basically, Spirit Stones are the recycled souls of dead traumatized Eldar. Nice. This is a secret kept from the majority of the Eldar, only known to those who enter the Eye of Terror to retrieve the Spirit Stones as well as the upper ranks of the Eldar. The more common story is that the Spirit Stones were created by Vol and are known as the Tears of Isha, with Eldar rangers finding them on Crone worlds as a leftover gift from their dead gods rather than the truth. This is a massive reason why Exodite and Craftworld Eldar population growth is so slow. Firstly, they cannot create new Maiden worlds or Crone worlds, and secondly, the already slow reproductive cycles of the Eldar is slowed by the fact that all new Eldar need a new Spirit Stone, and those Spirit Stones can only be retrieved when SEAL Team 6 goes into hell on extremely dangerous missions to collect them. So now we know where they come from. How do they actually work? When a worthy Eldar is given a Spirit Stone, they bond with it often changing color to suit their personality or role. For example, Warlock Spirit Stones go red, Farseers go blue, and so on, with virtually all colors being available. By worthy Eldar, I mean that Dark Eldar cannot use Spirit Stones. It will refuse to bond with them due to their cruel nature. However, Dark Eldar can be reformed into Craftworlders or Corsairs, at which point they can use Spirit Stones. Spirit Stones also generally will not bond with Ynnari or Harlequins, as their souls are already claimed and protected by Yned and Kigorak, so it's not necessary for them and actually kinda counterintuitive. Once an Eldar dies, their spirit will enter the Spirit Stone, putting them in a dreamlike state. Other Eldar, usually Spirit Seers, but it can be anyone, will then collect the stone and take it to their Craftworld's Infinity Circuit, where it can then join that Craftworld's collective afterlife, kind of like existing in a perpetual dream with others. Now, while this does seem pretty fine and death seems like less of a big deal, Eldar are still extremely saddened by each other's deaths. Sure, their spirit lives on and sure they can still interact with them, but imagine your wife as this extremely spry, active, passionate go-getter that grabs life by the balls and you're overwhelmed by their intense love. However, now they are permanently mega-dosed on ketamine. Sure, they're still there and exist, but they are very different, a lot more subdued, and are a shadow of their former selves. Spirit Stones are quite durable. It may seem dumb at Eldar having them front and center on their mass, however they tend to survive impact and direct hits pretty well. They aren't indestructible, but they are the strongest part of an Eldar and their armor. So if a guardsman shoots an Eldar and it hits their Spirit Stone, it's the best case scenario for that Eldar, as that part of their gear would deflect it. If an Eldar Spirit Stone is destroyed mid-battle without the Eldar dying, they immediately try to withdraw, as now they're at risk of the way shittier version of death. Some especially warlike or willful Eldar do not want to be put into Infinity Circuits and instead wish to keep fighting. These are the Spirit Stones that are placed upon Wraith constructs. Wraith guard are warlike Eldar, however their wills are not the best, so they're clumsy, as they are more or less K-holing. The more willful are put onto Wraithlord constructs, who have personalities and a lot of clarity. Literally the too mad to die kind of guys. In rare circumstances, Eldar twins are born. If one dies and the other lives, they are often chosen to become a Wraith Knight, which requires the Spirit Stone of a dead twin and the pilot of a living twin. Because of how rare this situation is, Eldar twins are often forced to become Wraith Knight pilots, which are some of the most powerful constructs in the Eldar's arsenal. But what happens if an Eldar force is slain and their stones cannot be recovered? Well, generally the Eldar will stop at nothing to try to reclaim those stones. So if Eldar are slain and their bodies, armor, and stones are taken by the enemy, which is common as Eldar tech is considered valuable and beautiful, the Eldar will return in massive numbers to reclaim their shit. Most factions have no idea what Spirit Stones are and will try to keep them as pretty trinkets or trophies. If they instead destroy the stones, the Eldar will still come anyway to enact revenge. Because of this, and because broken Spirit Stones means more power to Slaanesh, the official Imperial policy is to return Eldar Spirit Stones to the Eldar or just leave them alone. Inquisitors and Grey Knights will collect stones from battlefields and actively hand them back over to the Eldar during diplomacy, which the Eldar gratefully accept. Obviously this varies faction to faction. Chaos will consume or destroy the souls, Orcs will likely take them as trophies, Tyranids will eat them. However, generally most have learned to leave the stones where they drop, as there is a large correlation between taking the stones and then getting fucked to death a week later by a bunch of pissed off space elves. Now for some fun facts of the day about Spirit Stones. Spirit Stones, Soul Stones, Waystones, they're all the same shit, just different names. Only Eldar can use Spirit Stones as they are specifically attuned to them. Exodites also use the stones, however are not usually the ones retrieving them. So Craftworlds have to collect enough for both themselves and to drop off at Maiden Worlds for their Exodite kin. When an Exodite Eldar dies, their stone is taken to a world spirit at the heart of the Maiden World as opposed to an Infinity Circuit, but they more or less function in the same way. It's extremely hard for Dark Eldar to be reformed and bond with a Spirit Stone, as it forces them to face all their actions and the pain they cause, resulting in guilt so horrendous they literally die or go insane. However, it has happened before successfully. Not all Spirit stones and Eldar souls are equal, Phoenix Lords have especially powerful souls and spirit stones that are seemingly indestructible. When an Eldar Exarch puts on Phoenix armor, the spirit stone on the armor overwrites their personality and takes over, rebirthing the Phoenix Lord. You may have seen some Eldar who seem to be bedecked out in spirit stones. Is that because they have backups? No, Eldar can only have one spirit stone. The rest are just bling. Eldar fucking love gems. Spirit stones are affected by Necron pylons and anti-warp powers. If they're exposed for too long, they go milky and almost rotten, another reason why the Eldar hate the Necrons so much. Some spirit stones found on Chrome Worlds already possess a soul in it, usually a vengeful, hateful soul of an Eldar gone mad. These spirit stones are used to power certain Eldar weaponry, as opposed to being introduced into an infinity circuit or given a Wraith construct, where they may end up being a bit problematic. Some Eldar spirit stones, especially those belonging to aspect warriors or very warlike Eldar, are deliberately not placed into infinity circuits and are instead stored elsewhere or immediately placed into a war construct. This is because A, they don't want to go into the circuit, and B, it's because they would kind of kill the peaceful afterlife vibe there. What I'm saying is that spirit stones are dope. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then pick up an A3 poster, 1 week only, all the best artworks, pretty bloody cheap, support the channel. Hit the subscribe button, hit the real subscribe button for more soulful content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.